Alright, what's up you guys? Welcome to another action figure collection review, as today we're going to be taking a look at Spider-Man the Animated series by Toybiz, and clearly we can see these are most of the Spider-Man figures within the Spider-Man Toybiz line. Now the really cool thing is that there's so many versions of Spider-Mans out there, and I will have an updated video at some point, but these are just the ones that I have in my collection and the ones that I found throughout the years of toy hunting at various states, and it's just one of the most beloved franchise of me if you're a fan of Fox Kids and Spider-Man the Animated series from 1994. So let's go ahead and take a look at all these figures up close and see how great they really are and just how much this line means a lot to me. So as mentioned before, these are all Spider-Man related figures. If you haven't seen part 1 where I talk about the Spider-Man villains, the link will be in the description below. Otherwise, let's go ahead and take a look at all these figures and see how great they really are. Alright, so up first we're going to be taking a look at the super posable Spider-Man from Spider-Man the Animated series. And I like to consider this one the definitive Spider-Man in my entire Toybiz collection. For many reasons, because it just absolutely defines the greatest stylistic design of Spider-Man from the animated series, and this is the figure that I had the most memories with, the most fun playing with all my action figures, and aesthetically being Spider-Man and being superposable, it just hadn't fit the entire criteria of what Spider-Man should be. I mean, it's not only having a bunch of articulation everywhere, I mean, we even got ab crunches and waist swivels and elbow joints and shoulders and wrist articulations, neck, knees and ankles, thighs, everything about it. It just gives you so much dynamics and posabilities when you're playing with your figures, and I love the overall design of this one, and the webbing came out pretty decent. There are some little scratches here and there, but I do love the face of this one because when you look at him from the animated series, he does resemble this face, which again is the greatest. You do see some silver pins here and there, the whipping hand, and all the other musculature seen throughout his body, like his legs and everything, but again, the webbing and all that came out really fine and decent. Spider logo on the back, pretty good. And some of it's mostly darker black with some lighter black tones, a little bit fading here and there, but that's why I try to keep these in as good condition as I can without, damaging too much of the figure. But overall, I think this is absolutely the best and greatest Spider-Man figure in my collection. If you own this, then trust me, it's so freaking fantastic. Even the Spider logo is intact, so that's great, and I love the blues and the reds. Everything about it is just so fantastic. So I can't praise this figure enough because of how beautiful it looks, but overall it's really just one of the best. So that is the super posable Spider-Man. Alright, and up next we have another Spider-Man from the animated series, and this I believe is what people consider is probably the better version of Spider-Man. And you'll notice this one has a lot of scratches and dinged up. That is because this is the official version that I had bought back in the 90s from KB Toys, so it has a lot of wear and tear on it and playability of me as a kid throwing him around and getting his ass kicked by all the villains and stuff. So you can see a lot of paint scratches. The webbing has faded away mostly on the top and stuff, so it's it's again a really fantastic figure. When my superposable one broke off, this one definitely substituted it for the best it can. And again, this one is also great. Whipping hand, the fist hand, and although it lacks the posability that the original one had, but this one is still great for what it is. It still got the job done, and articulation, all that same standard for your 5 points. The spider logo faded on this one, but again, it's okay because this is the original one that I remember buying from KB Toys, so it holds a lot of value and nostalgia to me. So I definitely wanted to include it in my collection to show you guys that I still own some of my older figures, and it just brings back so much memories. So unlike the other version, they actually colored the pins of the actual suit, so it's red and not like silver like the original one. Even the legs are blue as well, so even if we do a minor comparison, you can just see how this one does not have pins by the knees, but it does by the ankles, which is silver. Even the joints right there are silver instead of being red. So again, you can see a lot of updates from this one kind of downranked to the 5 POA, but it still works. You know, it's magic. So overall, I think this one is still a great Spider-Man figure, and this one had like a Doc Ock accessories to it that you've seen probably in the animated series, in the Spiderverse episode. So I do not unfortunately have that, but it's okay. So that is the other version of Spider-Man. Alright, so the next figure we're going to take a look at is my favorite Spider-Man in the entire Spider-Man universe, and that is the Armored Spider-Man. When I first saw the introduction to this one within the animated series, I absolutely fell in love with it, and it instantly became my favorite Spider-Man figure within my collection, just because I love the silver and black. I just love the armor aesthetic, and just his appearance in the animated series really just captured some, Tony Stark-esque version of Peter Parker, but the stylistic design and approach of it was really awesome. And even in the PlayStation 1 video game, this was an unlockable costume, so it was one of my favorites to see. Some designs might have him as silver and blue, but I love the silver and black. The face sculpt looks incredible. Love the armor texturing there. Comes with a shield. Even the back has the silver spider logo. And yeah, everything else about it has like these little armored knee pads right there that go against the boots, and it's more texturing there from the line work, some more squares even down to the boots. He does have a gimmick on his right hand which springs out, I believe, some other gadget. Honestly, I don't know if I have it. I must have somewhere in the bin, but you can see the spring on the inside. And this one, and his right hand is more of the flipping hand, which is non-articulated because of the spring on the inside, so you cannot move it, which is probably the only downfall of the entire figure because there's no articulation there. But the left arm does have pins right there, so you can move and bend this arm up and down, which is good. And again, the shield staying intact within the peg hole, which is nice. Overall, I think this is such a beautiful, fantastic figure. I just love everything about it, and it serves as one of the coolest Spider-Mans in my collection just because it's the armored one. And it's such a shame in the animated series that he was taken away too soon, not because he died or anything, but because he just couldn't function anymore, and then they had to take him back. So pretty funny nonetheless. So that is Armored Spider-Man. Alright, and up next we're going to be taking a look at the Scarlet Spider. Now this is another cool looking figure within the Spider-Man collection just because Scarlet Spider always had a unique design and approach to it, just because this Spider-Man did not have the webbing pattern all over the body, whereas it was more of a solid red color with the white eyes, and that looks pretty good. And the one that stands out is because it's inverted, so he had more of a bluish vest on top of the red outfit, and this one is actually just painted on, whereas I have seen other Toybiz versions contain like a, I guess, cloth material sweater, which is pretty cool, but this one still does justice. I love the spider logo slanted looking towards the left, which is pretty awesome. He does have his belt with all his cartridges. That's pretty dope. And in the bottom half, just all red with the little ankle cuffs right there with some pouches. Pretty cool. And again, more cartridges on his wrist gauntlets as well. So spider logo going in the same direction. And yeah, everything about it is freaking fantastic. It does share similar molds as the other Spider-Man with the Doc Ock accessories, but for this one, it still holds as such a really cool aesthetic to it, because it's funny how you can literally just change the color of any single mold of a Spider-Man figure from Toybiz and it automatically becomes a really great one. So again, the face sculpt is really cool, not too much there, just plain red with all the white eyes, and you can see how they tried to sculpt the edges of the sweater and the little ripped edges there too. But yeah, they tried. It was a good approach, but still a pretty solid figure into the collection. So I like it. It's cool. Not too much to say, but it's a pretty decent one. So that is Scarlet Spider. Up next we have another fantastic looking Spider-Man, as we have Spider-Man 2099, who was a really cool designed Spider-Man, as it is the futuristic version. And this one came with a cloth cape, which is webbed pretty nicely and intact. So I love the ripped edges and everything about it. The face of it is really awesome because it's like an all blue mask with a menacing red spider logo deco on the face mask, which is awesome. And even the torso has like a skull style spider design, which is very interesting for that matter. And then musculature, pretty good, same as the previous Spider-Man figures. They did give him new hands, which is more of a big, I guess, clawed version hands, more bigger, and you can see the red square there in order for the spider webs to come out, but overall everything else about it is cool. He does have his little red spikes as well. That's part of the design, which is really awesome. It's kind of snug fit inside the little ripped cape there, but still a very interesting figure nonetheless, because like I mentioned before, all you have to do is just change the palettes of the Spider-Man molds and automatically it's a brand new figure. So really fantastic, and not too much else to say, but I love the color blue that they used for it. It's very calming, and I love how they shaded all the pins blue as well. So freaking badass. So that is Spider-Man 2099. Alright, and up next we have the Cosmic Spider, and this is another cool version of Spider-Man. It's one of more of a weirder design, not necessarily one of my favorites, but I love the concept of it because the Cosmic Spider-Man and the intergalactic galaxy voyage conquest versions of these types of characters is always cool. I'm just not really a fan of the mask. As you can see, it's like a split where you can see half of the webbing of the original red mask, so I guess it's okay, but the torso is pretty decent with some more cosmic effects there, almost like constellations, which is really awesome. And there's some stars and some other like supernova-esque designs there connecting to each other, which is really cool, and they're all outlined by black, but the silvers are nice intact and going throughout the body. And speaking of silvers, the rest of the whole body is just all silver. And if you've noticed, it's utilizing the same body mold as the previously other released figures, so not too much new there, but fisted hand, whipping hand, all that looks pretty good. It's just the face was more of a bizarre design, and the eyes I'm not really too much a fan of, but overall it's a pretty solid figure. It stands out within the collection for sure just because it's like blue and silvers, but it does a great job at capturing that Cosmic Spider-Man for sure. So that is the Cosmic Spider-Man. Up next we have another one of my favorite Spider-Mans within my collection, as we have the Black Spider, aka the Symbiote Spider-Man, and this was another one of my favorites within my collection just because when he was introduced in the Spider-Man the Animated series, it just really was awesome. And I understand that in the cartoons they had like more of a blue outline, like a cell shading-esque, but I still love it when it's all black. It really just defines and captures such a great posability for the Spider-Man. Now you'll notice that his chest is a little bit too out there. It contains a gimmick where when you actually open his chest, there's a webbing that comes out, and that's one of the most fragile pieces because it rips way too easily. So for this review, I will not utilize it, but it's in there, it's intact, and just to keep the quality of the figure great, I had to, not try to mess with it. But the spider logo is really clean. I love it, and the rest of the figure is just all black. I love how when he shoots out his webs, he does have a little black dot there and then the white square patch, which is cool. The webbing, the spider logo still continues from the back of the figure as well. Some pins in there, silvers, and not too much else going on, but he doesn't really have a flipping hand or fisted hands, more just like open hands, which is pretty cool. But the facial expression, he has more of the wider eyes, similar to the Cosmic Spider-Man eyes, and everything else is pretty cool. So a lot of mix and matching here, but muscle definition, the posability, and even just the body and stance, the structure for this figure is just awesome, and I absolutely love it. So yeah, it's a really great figure, and the fact that it's really clean just makes me happy because I love keeping my figures in great condition. So that is the Black Spider, aka the Symbiote Spider-Man. Alright, and up next we have the Reilly Spider-Man. So I guess this is his other alternate costume compared to the Scarlet Spider, I believe. So correct me if I'm wrong. However, this costume is actually pretty good. I love how it's, again, more of an inverted style compared to the other ones where you have a lot of the webbing there on the top of the head, and it's a lot more darker and apparent with more of a blacker outline around the eyes. And then the torso has a more wider spider logo going throughout the sides of his shoulders and to his waist, which is pretty decent. More thicker spider webbing there, which is pretty cool. And then here we even see more of the spider webbing there on the back with the spider logo still connecting towards the sides. Now what I really like about this figure is that it kind of has like an arch that continues with all the blues right there, which is pretty cool, but then the webbing does continue on the side of the feet as well as the side of the hands. So it's a very interesting, unique design. He still has the cartridges for the webbing in the silver color, which is pretty cool, but again, it's like a whole mix and match of different designs and different Spider-Mans, and there's just so many hundreds versions of different Spider-Mans out there. It's so hard to keep track of so many Toybiz versions, but overall it's a pretty good looking one, so I like this one a lot. Other than that, it's, pretty standard, simple as the other ones, but pretty cool for that matter. So that is the Ben Reilly Spider-Man. Alright, and up next we have the 6-armed Spider-Man, which is a very unique Spider-Man in my collection, just because in the animated series I wasn't too much a fond of this style or character. And just as a disclaimer, this is actually the original version that I had bought from the 90s, so it has a little play wear on there, but it's okay. And the mask, you can see, is kind of like rubbing off some fading webbing there. The logo is still intact, and he does have his additional articulated arms as well, which is removable, which is part of the gimmick there, where you just kind of push his legs together and he flaps his hands out like that. But yeah, like I was mentioning before, not necessarily my favorite Spider-Man in my collection, just because I wasn't really a fan of this storyline. A lot of dirt and mold on there, so forgive me for that. But back of the spider logo kind of dinged up, but that's okay. Yeah, like I said, it's not necessarily one of my favorites, just because when this storyline happened in the animated series, I just wasn't really a fan of it, because he was starting to transform into a real spider, so then that kind of took away a few episodes from it, and I understand why, because he was actually mutating at that point, and I believe he even visited the X-Men at that point. However, overall, same basic design of a regular Spider-Man, same head sculpt and everything, just the only new thing we have here is just the gimmicks of the arms. These arms just stand in an L shape and at 90 degrees, and then you just have more bare arms there, which is, yeah, again, not necessarily my favorite, but it's, I don't know. It is what it is. So that is the 6-armed Spider-Man. Alright, and up next we have Spider-Girl or Spider-Woman. It's one or the other. So a really cool looking Spider-Girl or woman for that matter. Not really a fan of her head sculpt, but she kind of has a reminiscent of the Ben Reilly Spider-Man costume. So I do like the overall webbing on the chest with the spider logo going throughout, and everything else about it is just all blue. Same stylistic designs with the cartridges on the wrist, also having the same similar style approaches as the other Spider-Mans, and with the reds on the blues there, like on the edges. She does not have the standard spider articulation, as because she is a female. She has more of a thigh swivel, but she does have knee articulation and elbows, which is really awesome, with shoulders, and even on the back see more of the spider logo peeping through. Even if we were to compare these two together, we can just see a lot of similarities in styles and designs there, so not too much new there, but still cool to add like a female Spider-Man into the collection. So that is Spider-Girl or Spider-Woman. Alright, and up next we have another Spider-Man, and to be quite honest, I don't necessarily know what to call this one, because I forgot, but I really like the darker aesthetic of it, and I like to call it, if this was like a live action movie version, the Andrew Garfield version of Spider-Man. I believe this one came in like a 6-pack or something like that, but yeah, again, it's more on the darkerish tones, a lot of the reds and the maroons and darker blues, but I do like the sculpting, the texturing, and it really does make it look like a pretty badass Spider-Man. So again, I apologize for not knowing exactly what the artist's interpretation of this Spider-Man was, or what's the original name for it, but I have it in my collection because I thought it looked really awesome when I bought the 6-pack, I believe, with Scarecrow or something like that. So a pretty interesting design for that matter, just unique, just more different hands, and a more of a bulkier approach to the Spider-Man aesthetic. So yeah, pretty cool, but it's just a nice addition to my collection. So that's another random Spider-Man. Alright, as a bonus feature, here we have 2 Peter Parkers within my Spider-Man collection, and here we have the original animated series Peter Parker, and then we have the, I believe this one was also part of a 6-pack, I don't remember. We can just see that there's inverted colors here. This one is a little more detailed, this one not so much, but I do love the black sneakers on this one compared to this one, and again, more of the animated series style, but we can see roughly just the same exact figure. Whereas these figures do come with a camera accessory, which I do not have unfortunately, but the brown jacket looks pretty cool. Love the facial expression, joints, all that looking pretty well. Blue jeans, pretty good. He does have the somewhat Adidas, not necessarily knockoff shoes, which is pretty cool, all in the brown, but he does have his signature teal blue shirt on the inside of the brown jacket. So I kind of wish we have gotten like a t-shirt version of the Spider-Man, but since we didn't, I guess it's okay. So it's fine for what it is. But even for this one, we can see roughly same design, but they didn't really do much detail on his face, but they gave it more of a black leather jacket, and blue jeans came out really well, and then the sneakers, like the high tops, look really freaking awesome on this figure. So if I were to ever customize myself for Toybiz, I would definitely use this one. Those are the Peter Parkers within my Spider-Man collection. And while we're on the human section, here's a Toybiz Mary Jane from the animated series, and honestly, it's a nice figure. It's decent, not really as accurate, but it is pretty faithful to the source material in terms of the color and the outfit that she wore in it. Face sculpt, not so much, but I will say I absolutely hate Mary Jane as a character. She pisses me off in ways you cannot imagine, so I just don't care for her. But overall, we can just see both Peter and Mary together happily ever after, so at least Toybiz did us justice by giving us the human versions of, Spider-Man. So we got Peter Parker and then we got Mary Jane, so yeah, that's pretty cool. I also guess it would not be complete if I didn't include a Madam Web in here. So here's Madam Web, and she has her actual throne, which is really, really awesome. So as she zooms in up close here, a pretty cool looking figure. She does have waist articulation and articulation by the knees, which is pretty awesome. Face sculpt looks pretty good. I mean, she has the red goggles, the gray hair, the little wrinkles on the face, all that looking pretty decent, and the overall detail on the outfit looks great. The spider logo on the chest and the overall design of her bottom half is pretty good. The throne, whatever, looks freaking sick, and everything else about it. She does have these other gimmick attachments to it, but I don't care about that. Overall, it's a pretty solid looking character, and it's just awesome to have at least Madam Web in. She plays a pivotal part in the animated series in Search for Mary Jane, so that's sick. So that is Madam Web. Alright, and to conclude this video, I have a bunch of random miscellaneous Spider-Mans in the collection as well, and to be quite honest, I didn't want to go over all of them just because there's just so many different things to talk about, and a lot of them are like incomplete or different. So what I plan to do in the future, if you're still sticking along with the channel's journey, I will have an updated video for these figures in the future, because again, I will go over all these at some point as I have a better idea of who these figures are and the accessories that they come with. And some really cool highlights here is that we have the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man different scale version, and then we have the negative Spider-Man here, and then we have some other Spider-Mans with some of the symbiotes taking over this one as well. So, and then we got this female Spider Woman or girl, I don't know who this one is, but still a nice looking one. So yeah, so there's all these different Spider-Mans in the collection, but I'm just happy to have these there, and one day I will have updated versions because there's still many more Spider-Mans to get, and I want to update that and put these in there in that collection. So stay tuned for a future video for whenever I do review on these, so consider this more like a foreshadow. Alright, and here we have my main Spider-Mans within the collection, so freaking amazing looking figures. So we have Spider-Girl or Spider-Woman, we have Ben Reilly, we have Spider-Man 2099, the Armored Spider, the Doc Ock gimmick of Spider-Man. We have the super posable Spider-Man. We have Scarlet Spider, Cosmic Spider, Black Spider, aka Symbiote Spider-Man, the Six-Armed Spider-Man, and this other random one I don't remember. Yeah, I mean, overall, these are such beautiful looking figures, and I'm just so happy to actually add these into my collection. So, freaking absolutely gorgeous. Alright, you guys, I want to thank you all for watching. Be sure to give a like and subscribe for more toy collection reviews, as stay tuned as part 3. We'll dive into more Toybiz action figure reviews, and it's going to be a long one. So thank you guys all for watching. I appreciate you joining the nostalgia fun trip for these retro figures. And stay tuned, as I will be having more updated collection videos for these in the back and whatnot. But I really wanted to focus more on these in the front because these were like the most favorite and most unique versions for me in my Spider-Man collection. So thank you guys all for watching. Be sure to give a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next episode.